Welcome to the Psychic Pinup Podcast, the anything and everything spiritual podcast where we dive into hot topics, readings, viewer questions, and more. Thank you for tuning in. Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive right into it.
Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Anything and Everything Spiritual Podcast. My name is Linda. I am also known as the Psychic Pinup. Today's episode is one I've wanted to record for a while now. Not out of frustration, more so out of responsibility as a medium. And I am sure that the title says it plainly. Mediumship is not what TikTok thinks it is. When I talk about TikTok, I am also referring to many other social media platforms. Please do not think that this is an attack on social media, and it is not in any way a judgment of people exploring spirituality online. It is not. And it's definitely not about gatekeeping. But it is about truth, about depth, and about protecting the integrity of a sacred practice that has been reduced in many spaces to what I consider performance and sound bites, but let's run with the performance. Now, if you are curious about mediumship, developing your abilities, or simply trying to understand what's real versus what's trending, this episode and this conversation matters. Trust me. So I would like to talk about the TikTok/social media version of mediumship as opposed to what real mediumship is. Okay, so on TikTok and all those other short form platforms, mediumship is often being portrayed as instant messages, dramatic reactions, clear names, dates, and validations on demand. Highly emotional moments all condensed down into a whole 30-second video. Wow! Is that real? Is that shit real? Think about it. I'm going to put myself out there and say 80% of the time, no, it does not work that way. I have lost count of the amount of platforms I have attended, shows, platforms, other demonstrations. It simply does not run that way within a 30-second wow factor. These videos, guys, these videos are being edited. And I'm going to say, in many cases, highly edited for the wow factor. I'll even put myself out there a little bit more and talk about the TV shows that we watch. the Tyler Henrys, the Long Island medium, who else we've got? John Edwards. Now, Each one of those people, highly well-respected mediums. Please don't think I'm having a dig at them in any way whatsoever. But I need you to understand that these shows are highly edited. How boring would those shows be if there was no dramatic wow factors in them? Or if we're sitting in silence and we have subtle information coming through. It does not look good for TV, nor does it rate highly. So the networks are not going to air it. And what these shows do, and what these 30-second or 1 minute, 2 minute, however long these videos are on these social media platforms do, it creates the illusion that mediumship is fast, entertaining, constant, and always emotionally intense. But what you're seeing is the edited version, curated, and often disconnected from the reality of how mediumship actually works. Now let me talk about what mediumship really is. It is not about a medium being there to entertain. It is not about a medium wowing their sitter. Mediumship is not a performance. And yes, I do know that I do shows, so if you want to send me hate mail, by all means send me hate mail. Yes, I do shows. However, at the same time, I'm also mindful that mediumship is a relationship. I like that. Mediumship is a relationship. So, a relationship with what? Some of you may be asking. Relationship with spirit. Relationship with energy. Relationship with responsibility. And importantly, relationship with ethics. And in fact, the most real mediumship is more often subtle, quiet, ordinary. Now I know, and I can speak from first-hand experience, how damaging these short videos, TV shows can be. Many people have this preconceived idea that it's literally like Hollywood playing out in front of your eyes, that you're actually looking at somebody in spirit and you're actually having a conversation with them in spirit, like they are still here alive talking to us. Yes, that can happen. Yes, I have had that experience. But let me tell you, more often than not, messages don't always arrive as words, verbatim, having a conversation. The messages seem to come through as impressions, emotions, sensations, and that's when we go down the whole road of working with your clairs, your clairvoyance, your clairsentience, your clairalliance, your clairaudience, your claircognizance, clairgustance, all the different clairs, and they're all the sensations that we will work off to get the messages through from spirit world. And more often than not, they can be very subtle. So an experienced medium knows how to tune in to those subtle sensations, how to interpret those subtle emotions to pass on that message to their sitter. And this is all about developing clarity. But clarity takes time. There are pauses. There is uncertainty. And yes, there is interpretation. We have to interpret. It's like being an interpreter with another language. You have somebody who will interpret what the other person is saying to the other person. You're the in-between person, if that makes sense. Now, these pauses, the uncertainty, it does not make the reading weak in any way. What it actually does, in my opinion, is make it honest. If a medium sits there, pauses, interprets, goes back, that comes from experience. It also comes from confidence. A confident medium will not be making things up for the wow factor. What the medium is actually doing is making that session honest. Now, the downfall with social media, I mean, we all love social media. We all like to see what's going on. We can't help ourselves. Human beings, they like to sticky beak. I know that. But what this is doing is creating this pressure, this culture to be accurate, on demand. And if you aren't, you're a shit medium. People call you out on it from what they have seen on social media or from somebody else's opinion on social media. So I will say one of the most damaging ideas social media has reinforced is that a medium should always be right. That real mediumship means immediate validation, no hesitation, and no room for interpretation. Now, let me just dig a little bit deeper with this. I have lost count the amount of times I have done readings where my sitter will sit opposite me and say no, or I don't know, or I'm not sure, and look at me with a confused look, or look at me thinking this medium is full of shit, they don't know what they're talking about. Only for later on, and this happens at shows also, only for later on for me to receive that validation from them. Sometimes a sitter cannot draw on a memory so quickly. They need to go away and think, or maybe even go and talk to somebody else or do a little bit of research. That's when I will get my yes from them. Also down to interpretation. And what I mean by interpretation, this is interesting, this one. Generally when I do readings, I will only do one-on-one with psychic readings. However, if I'm doing a mediumship, purely mediumship, for a family member who has crossed over, I'm more than happy to take the family in and have the family sit with me, but it will only be pure mediumship. And this is what I mean by interpretation. I will give a piece of evidence to the family, and straight away I'll have Mary Jo say, no, that's not right. And then her sister sitting next to her saying, well, no, yes, I remember that. See how we have different interpretations, different perspectives here. And again, if a medium is met with a no, does not mean that they are wrong. And this is why I have a bit of a beef with these short videos on social media and also highly edited TV shows. What people need to remember is that mediumship is not certainty, it's communication. We are communicating with spirit world. We are also working for spirit world. A medium does not control the reading for those sitters. They are communicating with spirit world to pass on messages to the sitters. Now, to be a good medium, you need to have a lot of trust also. You need to trust the information that Spirit gives you to pass on. Even if you are met, and when you do get met, because you do, believe me, you do a lot, get met with no's, and even sometimes they look at you like you have two heads. You need to trust that information and pass it on. Because even highly experienced mediums do not receive information like a script. So anybody claiming that they are highly accurate, actually, do you know what? Bit of a tangent here. I think in the last week, let's go in the last 2 to 3 weeks, I have lost count. Again, I'm losing count on a lot of things. I have lost count of the amount of psychic mediums that are popping up in my news feeds claiming to be Australia's #1 psychic medium. I mean, how many #1 psychic mediums can we have at once? How many? And the amount of psychic mediums who claim that they are 100% accurate. Give me a break. Nobody is 100% correct. And I do not claim to be 100% correct. And so this is sorry, I always go off on a bit of a tangent with things. But I'm very passionate about what is being put out there on social media and how it is now governing people's perceptions on how a psychic medium should be. People's expectations. This is going to lead me into the ethics, the boundaries, and what you don't see online. And here's what doesn't go viral. Saying no. How many readings have you seen up online there where the sitter says no? A medium holding boundaries. A medium sitting in silence. Or a medium carrying the emotional weight of grief. We have a huge responsibility I sit in silence prior to working. I sit in silence. I connect with spirit. I talk to them prior to working. You're not going to see that up on social media. It's boring, isn't it? It's not entertaining. It doesn't get the views. You won't get followers from that. It's not sensationalized, is it? Nor will you see videos from me in particular about carrying the emotional grief from your sitter. Some of those readings, or some of the readings that I do, my goodness, they can drain me emotionally. The things that I see, the things that I feel, some of it can be so heartbreaking. And I wear that energy. I wear it. You don't see things like that up on social media. I need to remind everybody here who do watch these mediumship reels, or they get heavily invested in watching short snippets of these highly edited videos, that mediumship involves people at their most vulnerable. Please don't consider it entertainment. It requires discernment, grounding, and emotional maturity. Not everything that comes through is meant to be shared publicly either. And not every message is meant to be dramatic. Now, again, I know I do shows. I do know that I can be a little bit entertaining. However, that is the personality of the spirit that I'm working with, and the sitter as well. I can read the energy of what I can and what I cannot reveal in front of people. I'm very mindful of that. I have many people that will come to me after a show to book in for a private reading, and that is when we get more in depth and bring more things up. But I have the emotional maturity as to what I can bring through and what I will not bring through. The cost of making mediumship a trend, all these trending videos on TikTok and social media. Look, when mediumship becomes content, a few things happen here. People's expectations become unrealistic. Sensitivity becomes sensationalized. For those who are developing their abilities, I find the development becomes rushed. And the ethics become optional to some people. Now, this does not affect just the mediums. I find that it also affects the sitters. An example of that is last year I did a reading for somebody who recently lost their partner. Now, their partner came through. I described their personality. I got the name. I got the name of a mate of theirs. I got what they did for work. And right at the end, when I asked if there was any questions, and of course, it wasn't just A, B, C. We do the whole reading. I bring through the messages and yada, yada, yada. And at the end, I asked her, do you have any questions? And she said, yes. what was the nickname he used to call me? And I'm like, excuse me? Can you tell me what he used to call me, my nickname? Well, I shut it down. I told this person that I'm not here to be tested. I'm quite upfront about that with people. I will not be tested. Now, was this somebody still in severe grief? Or was this somebody who has been exposed to videos, highly edited TV shows? So it has made their expectations unrealistic. I'd like to think it was the former, but I've got this feeling it was the latter. The expectations from watching TV and reels that pop up on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. Just my opinion. See what I mean by this? People start questioning the real experiences because that reading I did was a real experience. I brought through the evidence. But in this person's mind, what I did, the reading, did not match up or marry up with what they see on TV and on social media. Any quiet connections that we have with spirit seem to get dismissed, and any subtle messages that we get seems to be doubted. And to me, do you know what? That's quite heartbreaking, because a medium will sit there and be the middle person between physical world, spirit world, and they will connect those two worlds together and be that middle person. And because that experience is not marrying up with what a sitter is used to seeing on social media, it's heartbreaking. True mediumship and true mediumship development is slow. It's humbling. And it's also deeply personal. It actually involves sitting with doubt, learning discernment, strengthening boundaries, and doing your own inner work. If you are practicing medium or developing medium, let's say developing medium, words of wisdom. If your mediumship feels valid only when it's witnessed, you're not rooted in yet. You're not grounded. Real development will happen off camera. Trust me. So if you're exploring mediumship, let this be your reminder. You don't need to look like anyone else. You don't need to rush your development. We all develop at different paces. And we all do things differently. There is no right way or wrong way. And you certainly do not need an audience to be legitimate. Remember that mediumship is sacred. It's relational. And it deserves respect. So, a few things to think about there. I'd like to thank you for being here for this conversation, or for listening to Linda go off on her little tangent. If this episode resonates, please share it with someone who's feeling confused or disillusioned by what they're seeing online. I think it's really important to get that word out there. I'll be back next week with more honest conversations about spirituality, mediumship, and the things we don't talk about enough. Until then, trust your experience, move slowly, and honour the work. Thank you very much. Until next time, bye for now.
You have been listening to Linda, the Psychic Pinup. Linda is a psychic medium based on the New South Wales south coast of Australia. You can connect with her via her website, thepsychicpinup.com.au, or join her on her weekly live feeds on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all under the same name, The Psychic Pinup. Thanks for listening.